I lived in Srinagar. Because certain sections of the community were missing. We don't have Jains there. We don't have proper Hindus. We had Kashmiri Pandits. And the Kashmiri Sikhs as well, Kashmiri speaking Sikhs. It was very liberal as well. Hi, I'm Arshia Malik. I come from the Valley of Kashmir in my beautiful country, India. And today I'm appearing on Bodh channel. You'll be hearing a lot of things that you've never heard before. I was 15 years old in 1990 and I used to play basketball quite allowed in my family, and I used to wear skirts. So very normal. Even walking on the street, nobody ever said anything. But then things started to change, and that was where the advent of what we today know as Wahhabism. That time though we couldn't define what was happening. Suddenly some stranger in a beard and a kurta pajama and a skull cap would stand up in a crowd or a mosque or any place and say, this is not right, you are not wearing a veil. Even to the men, you don't have the pajama over the ankle length and all. You don't have a beard. Please come to the mosque 5 times. So these slight things started happening. And of course, then came the diktats of the terror groups. They would paste pamphlets in that beauty parlors are to be shut down. Cinema houses have to be shut down. They burnt a few cinema houses also. And then a list of prominent Kashmiri Pandits was pasted. We used to have wooden electric poles. So it would be pasted there or on the mosque doors. And of course, then we heard that some women who were wearing jeans were kneecapped. Kneecapping is when you shoot at the knee, you disable the person. And we heard of a few acid attacks on women who were not veiled. So slowly, the atmosphere of the city first, Srinagar, and then the adjoining districts, Anantnag, Pahalgam, and slowly the border area started changing, because the message went to the people that, you have to change your way of life. And then you start hearing about these leaders coming up, that there is a Hurriyat group, and there is Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani, and there is a Shabir Shah, and then, so this was the atmosphere it was like. But we felt bad because, we had ancient neighbors. We had families who had lived alongside us for years and decades, Kashmiri Pandit families. Eid तो हमारे घर में पहले दिन नहीं होती थी because the Kashmiri Pandits used to come and visit us. We used to celebrate Eid on the second day because then we would go and visit our relatives. So the first day it was always Kashmiri Pandits coming to us. And I still remember, I have childhood memories of Kashmiri Pandit uncles coming and giving us those, it's a mixture of chirni and sugary things and nuts and peanuts and all, walnuts and almonds and all. So they used to come to us with that, and then inviting them for lunch and all. So very, very, yes, it was an uneasy piece, because now that I've pieced it together and heard from the Kashmiri Pandits, this was their 7th exodus. Hopefully not their final, but we didn't know about it. We didn't know there had been earlier exoduses. We always grew up with them. I mean, I had Kashmiri Pandit friends. My husband, when he was growing up, he tells me stories about his best friend being a Kashmiri Pandit, exchanging comics and, Western music and Michael Jackson and Madonna, and, it's that kind of era. Not very different from any Indian city, but then this Wahhabi and Salafi interpretations started growing a wedge between the two communities. So those are the first signs we have. The Gulf money started pouring in. When I had this tour of, I did a survey of the UN, it was a UN survey, children affected in armed conflict in 2001-2002 winter, right after 9/11. So I had a chance to tour the Kupwara district. Kupwara and Budgam were the 2 poorest districts at that time. But you wouldn't believe it, the mosque that you saw at the entrance of those districts, it was huge, it was palatial. So you could make out the difference that the money was pouring in from somewhere. So that's how wedge would be that, these preachers would now come up openly into our homes, openly into our family gatherings and say, what you're doing is shirk. You can't even sit with a Kashmiri Pandit. You can't even sit with a Hindu. We have Dogra Hindus also from Jammu. You can't do business with them. This was the way they tore the social fabric of our society. And when people are kind of coerced into this, when people are threatened with hellfire, when people are told, okay, this is written in the Quran, this is written in the Hadith, there is no way of them for confirming, because the Quran is in the Arabic language. Hardly anybody reads the translation. So they have to depend on what the Maulvi or the Imam is saying. And the Imams were, doing the Wahhabi interpretation. So, everybody, maximum people in the valley lapped it up that maybe, we'll go to hell if we don't do this, if we don't follow what he's saying. Very few rare souls would question, would stand up and say, what you're saying is wrong. We've been doing it for centuries. Shah Hamdan never taught us this. Nund Rishi never said this. We are Rishivar, this is is the land of rishis and this can't be shirked. So very few families had the guts to stand up and say it. So yes, it tore our social fabric, it created a mistrust between the communities. People today ask us, why didn't you stand up for the ethnic cleansing of Kashmiri Pandits? They forget the fact that behind every ethnic cleansing, every family moving out of the house, a gunman would be standing there, wielding an AK-47. You cannot go up to a gunman and say that, what you're doing is wrong. Even today, there is a silent majority in the valley. I keep batting for the silent majority. People keep saying, where are they? We don't. And I keep saying the space is not there to protest. What happened today in Pahalgam, this is for the first time spontaneous protests have broken out from the population itself. That's because the space has been created, whether it is by elections or whether it is by the BJP government, whatever. But the space is there. They know they are safe. They know if they get up and hold a candlelight march, nobody's going to kill them. You couldn't do that in the 1990s. My grandmothers, both maternal and paternal, used to laugh because, they used to have this shuttlecock burqa, which is just like the Afghani women. They had given it up in the 1970s and the 1980s, saying that only rural women wear it now. So it was considered to be backward to have the shuttlecock burqa. And suddenly now to see their progeny, their grandchildren starting to adopt the hijab, the grandmothers would laugh. They would say, this is absurd. What is happening? And it restricted us. We started realizing how much of Sharia law restricted us. And then as we started educating ourselves, by hook or crook, education was negligible. There was no academic year which would be, could be completed. But whenever we started independently studying, we understood what all entailed through Article 370. Like if I was a Kashmiri daughter and if I did marry outside, I would lose my inheritance automatically because we had dual citizenship. I was a citizen, I had a state subject certificate, and also if I wanted, I could have an Indian passport. But in case I'm married outside to somebody who doesn't have a state subject of Kashmir, I would automatically lose my inheritance. So would my children. So this was one thing that we realized, and then we came to know about the Valmikis. So no matter how much educated they got, they could only apply for menial jobs. Then you had the West Pakistan refugees. So despite being in the region for decades, they had come when we were partitioned. They were still not proper citizens. They couldn't vote. They didn't have voting rights. And again, the same way, they couldn't apply for government jobs since they didn't have their citizenship, the state subject and all. These all things started coming to us that, kind of law. We had the Ranbir Penal Code and it strictly restricted us. So it's not just Sharia laws that apply to us culturally, but we have the RPC also. It is only after the abrogation of Article 370 that the IPC now is governing us. And any change to the IPC, like you have a lot of liberal laws there, are automatically applied now only after 20. Even now, I have had to sit and debate with generally youth belonging to, Delhi University colleges or the JNU or the Aligarh or Jamia Millia, and they say, India is occupying. I say, no, what occupation? See, I can own property in Indian cities as well as my own hometown. You cannot. Now tell me who is the occupier. Secondly, how have they stopped my people from practicing their faith? Even today, we can build a mosque. We have built huge mosques in 1990s, right? And nobody stops them from praying. The only thing that gets highlighted in the media is when the J&K police, the security, stops people from gathering in the Jama Masjid. The Jama Masjid is in downtown Srinagar. It is always used for political purposes. So for security reasons, there are restrictions. But again, as a leftist narrative, leftist media, like we know today, Al Jazeera and BBC and New York Times and WAPO, they will portray that, see, the Kashmiris are being, banned from practicing Islam. Nothing like that. You are free to do whatever like I said, even Ahmadi, we have an Ahmadi population. Nobody persecutes them. They marry, they have children, there is an Ahmadi mosque and, very, very good ties with other people. So it's a generally leftist narrative. It had a lot of dominance, but now the Kashmiris themselves are debunking. See, the human rights of even Muslims were being violated by terrorists. The terrorists would not give us any space for dissent. Anybody standing up and simply saying the fact that Kashmir's future lies with India would have been shot dead as a mukhbir is the word they use, meaning collaborator. Abhinav Gupta belongs to us. Panini, the grammarian, wrote the text there sitting in the valley. It has a beautiful weather. That is why many philosophers have made it there. I believe Adi Shankaracharya also visited there. And British historians, British residents have always been coming there. They believe it was one of the, there are wonderful paintings by British officers and they've truly captured the essence of the valley. So that could be rebuilt, but it's always with a multicultural setup, cosmopolitan setup. One thing which was a hope for me was not a single Indian Muslim ran for jihad in Kashmir. You have never had anybody being caught there for waging a war against India. No Indian Muslim has been. There is a flaw with my people also, something called internal racism. They do look down upon the Indian Muslims, and this is something the Indian Muslims have also told me, which is true. Kashmiris have this fascination with, fair skin, blue eyes, light colored hair. So when they see the dark, dusky Indian Muslims, they feel they are remnants of the old Hindu civilization. They are converts. Somehow the Kashmiri Muslims, some voices they used to keep associating with the Turkish descent. So the Indian Muslims have been making overtures to the Kashmiri Muslims, especially after the abrogation of Article 370. The Kashmiri Muslims have started realizing that, there is not just one kind of a Muslim. There are going to be various kinds of Muslims, that there are various ethnicities in India. Like I said, they do understand now the Tamil Muslim is going to be the way, because, he lives in Tamil Nadu. He's going to speak in the Tamil language. He might have his own version of the Quran, his own interpretations. And because his culture has contributed to that vision. So they are also trying to get exposed to, the other cultures. I believe a bridge can be made, which was not there earlier. Earlier, the Muslim elite and the political parties did not make any effort to create that bridge. And hence, the Kashmiri Muslims were kind of left alienated. But that is changing. And so far, hopefully, in the future, there will be more bridges built. But yes, the internal flaw of my people has to be rectified somehow. But that can only happen when a lot of Indians get settled there, work with them shoulder to shoulder, show them their way of life. And the Kashmiris start coming out in droves and not just getting settled in Indian cities, but, touring the country and understanding that they are part of a civilization, not just a country. If you liked what you heard today, kindly like, share and subscribe to the Bodh channel.